everybody. Welcome to Your Capital What's Up. I'm Chuck Wiger, your area state senator. Thank you for watching. Today I'm very honored to have Jim Antonen join us. Jim, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Senator.
Jim is the city manager for Maplewood, and as such, you are the chief staff person working directly with the mayor and city council, and we congratulate you in your role.
Well, thank you very much.
And for those that may not be aware, and it's always good to get a refresher, what does the city manager do?
Well, basically in a Plan B city such as Maplewood, the
Plan B, is that legislative talk? Or?
Legislative, it's statute.
Okay.
And it's a statutory Plan B city,
okay.
Which vests the administration of the city with the city manager,
okay,
and the policy with the city council.
Okay, as opposed to another plan where the city might,
basically,
council could do more.
hiring, firing is the responsibility of the city manager.
Yes.
The city manager is responsible for the administration, the budget, all the different functions of the city, obviously under the oversight of the city council.
Okay, and so it's the mayor, the city council that hire you, and of course with...
And I'm their only, myself and the city attorney are the only employees that the council has.
Okay, so directly report to them.
That's right.
And you sign a contract?
Yes,
with them, and so there's the direct input in working with them, and of course for people that watch city council events, they'll see you providing that advice, that guidance, but ultimately it's the council that's going to weigh in.
Sometimes, if the council asks. I mean, they're council meetings, they're not city manager meetings, so
right.
Obviously I defer to my bosses.
Okay. How does one become a city manager?
Well, it's, you
go to school for specific training, but there's a lot of other things.
Basically it's an interesting government. It's good to have a degree. Nowadays a master's in public administration is almost required.
Okay.
And but it's basically learning on the job.
Okay.
And so I started off in a small city at that time. I think it was about 4,000 people in Sartell, Minnesota, back in 1980. And as with any job, the only way you get a promotion as city manager is to move to a larger city.
And Jim, can we back up? Where were you born?
I was born in South Dakota.
Okay, whereabouts?
I was born in Volga by Brookings County.
Volga?
Volga.
Okay, what are they known for?
Not too much. It's about 20 miles. My hometown is Arlington, South Dakota. It's about 20 miles west of Brookings.
Okay, so rural roots.
Yeah, I claim that even though I was born in South Dakota, I was conceived in Minnesota.
Okay.
Because my dad had a blacksmith shop outside of Appleton.
Okay. And you, growing up, a couple of memories you'd like to share about going to school or life in general?
Growing up in a rural environment. My dad had a blacksmith shop in Arlington.
Okay. Did you pick up on that?
Well, I helped out, but he never encouraged me to go into that side of the business, and so I went to college in South Dakota.
In high school, what did you enjoy the most?
Surviving in high school,
what do they remember Jim Antonen?
I guess I was probably one of those kids that you probably wouldn't want your daughter to be going out with. I guess I wasn't the most studious person there was, but no, it was a good time. I basically afforded me the opportunity to go to college, and I went to college, and at the same time I joined the Navy Reserve.
Okay.
And so after I graduated from college, I went on active duty. And spent a year in Vietnam with the Navy, the Brownwater Navy we call it.
Okay.
And came back and went to work for a congressman from South Dakota.
Thanks for your military service.
Well, thank you.
And then you went to work in Congress.
Yep, I worked for...
What motivated you to go into the public light like that?
I would guess I was with Young Democrats in college, and at that time in South Dakota we had a Democrat governor, Dick Knipe, and two Democrat congressmen, Frank Denholm and Jim Aberesk, and then we had a a Democrat Senator, George McGovern,
Yes.
and we had a Republican Senator, Carl Munt, which, talk about both ends of the spectrum
Yes.
being covered. So basically, after I was got out of the service, I was looking around, and the governor said, that I could ask me if I wanted to come work in Pierre, and
Great.
the congressman asked if I wanted to work for him, and so I chose working for the congressman.
Okay.
And spent 3 years in D.C. Working, and came back.
One big memory to share about working in D.C.
Well, it was, I guess that time it was Nixon's impeachment.
Yes.
And that was really tough because my boss, Frank Denholm, was a former sheriff, former FBI agent, an attorney, a fairly moderate conservative Democrat. And he took a stance that he wanted to see all the facts before he made up his mind on Nixon's impeachment. And that didn't set too well with the McGovern wing of the party. And
Yes.
so there was some hard feelings created by that. And so that was a real wake-up call for a 20-some-year-old kid being involved in that. And
You've been in the service, and
been in the
obviously
service.
a divided
I'd been
country.
shot at a few times, so that wasn't anything.
You
new,
had
but yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't quite like the politics of D.C. I mean,
Okay.
it was a great experience. You worked 6.5 days a week practically. 12, 14 hours a day, and so it was a very tiring experience too. So
Yes.
I came back to South Dakota to finish up my master's. I was working, trying to work and go to American University and get my master's in public administration,
Okay.
and use a GI Bill. And as it turned out, it was the least expensive for me to come back to South Dakota to the university to get my master's in public administration. And then I went to work for the state for a few years.
Of South Dakota?
Yeah, I worked
Okay.
for the state superintendent initially, and then I worked for the Division of Criminal
Superintendent of...
Education.
Okay. Okay.
And then I worked for the Division of Criminal Investigation.
Okay. What did you do for the education department?
I was the administrative assistant, and
Okay.
so
That could be anything.
well, it was, talk about a learning experience. You being a former educator, we had like 154 former principals and superintendents.
Yes.
And the superintendent was a great guy, but he did not want to directly interact, to confront, and so a lot of the administrative burden rested upon me, and to work with those superintendents and principals, all former superintendent principals, was
Okay.
another great learning experience. I transferred over to the Division of Criminal Investigation. I said, work with a better clientele, but just joking.
Okay. Okay. And what did you do there?
I was the assistant training coordinator, so we ran the police academy, and since there were only 25 agents, kind of did double duty. I had Rosebud and part of Pine Ridge Reservation as far as providing assistance to and this type of thing. So that was fun, and a lot of cops and robbers stuff. But after you get married and start a family, it's a very transient life. So I decided, or my wife decided, that I probably should spend more time at home. And
Good.
I came back and took a 1-year planning grant with a regional council of governments, and that's where I got interested in local government, working on this 1-year grant, doing some water grants, water sewer grants, some other planning things. I really developed an interest.
And you're still in South Dakota?
I was still in South Dakota. And so from there, I went to Sartell as the city administrator.
Okay. Was there a radio commercial saying, come to Minnesota?
That's where the jobs were.
Okay.
It's,
The jobs were in Minnesota.
It's cheap to live in South Dakota.
Yeah.
But I'd rather pay taxes and have a good job in Minnesota than to live cheaply and perhaps not have a good job.
Okay. So
a
Sartell.
little commercial for Minnesota.
Okay, thank you.
From Sartell, then I went back to Vermillion, South Dakota, where I got my master's as city manager, and I was there for 6 years. And then from Vermillion, I was called to Moorhead, and I was city manager in Moorhead for 13 years or so until
Okay, that's a good stint.
All my sons graduated, and
How many sons?
3.
Okay, great.
My oldest son, Charles, is a deputy attorney general in California.
Okay.
My middle son, Matthew, is a buyer with Target Corporation here in Minneapolis. And my youngest son, Patrick, is finishing his doctorate in public administration from the University of South Dakota. He just passed his comps and his orals, and so now he's on to writing the dissertation.
Okay, well, you'll make it.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're up in, still on the border there, and 13 years. And
Yeah.
I imagine you worked with, not only your mayor and your city council, but lots of legislative involvement. You've had Washington.
Keith Langseth,
Senator Langseth, institution here.
Yeah. It was great because being on the border there, you had the best of both worlds. We had the senators and representatives from Minnesota, but you also had the contacts and we call it Fargo-Moorhead, the other twin cities of Minnesota.
Yes.
And so it was a lot of fun, and I really loved the area. I really loved the people, but the winters are just horrible. I mean, down here is a breeze compared to northern Minnesota winters. And
They're more brutal, especially up there.
Oh, absolutely. And so we decided to go seek a warmer climate.
Your spouse and she helped. Who was the main that determined that?
I had a acre and a half on the Red River, and I had a very long, wide driveway. And when you have 3 sons, a lot of that work gets done by your boys. After Patrick went off to the University of Minnesota, it was just myself. I had a snowblower, I had a riding tractor, but I mean, still, it's tough.
Okay.
And so I decided, well, I'm going to test waters, and I interviewed in Texas for a city manager's job.
Okay.
And the same week, I interviewed in Davis, California.
Yeah, these are very portable skills.
Oh, yeah. And I was selected in Davis, and so I went out
California.
Went out to Davis, and I spent 5 years with the city of Davis there.
Tell us about Davis.
Well, it's the People's Republic of Davis.
Okay.
They try to out Berkeley. It's the University of California, Davis is there.
Okay.
And so, I mean, the city itself is like 60,000, but that doesn't count the university. It doesn't count the subdivisions right adjacent to it. And so we'd like to say we're in a nice small city of 60,000, but in reality it's well over 100,000. And a very proactive, a no-growth city, which was a real cultural change for me because, in Minnesota and South Dakota, you're wanting to bring in jobs, expand, the infrastructure, everything, and so it was sort of the opposite.
Yes.
And so it was a real learning curve, but I enjoyed my time there, and after 5 years, I took a break and worked for a executive search firm. We did city manager searches in California and the West Coast, and got to missing city government. And so I got to thinking to myself, where was I happiest? And in all reality, I was happiest in Minnesota. And so I thought, well, I'm going to see what's around, and the path led me to Maplewood, and I guess the rest is history.
Well, and you've been with Maplewood now for...
It'll be coming on 2 years.
A couple of years, and there's been a number of changes, and those are pretty well documented. For you, what would be the top 2 priorities in conjunction with the council that the city is faced with right now? Or maybe the top priority?
Well, the top priority is to provide the level of service that the citizens enjoy with the amount of revenue that we have available.
Yes.
And that is not an easy thing to do.
In big picture, and you have a wonderful website with lots of information on the budget and opportunities to get involved, ordinances, etc. But approximately, what is the budget amount?
The overall budget is like $49 million, almost $50 million.
Okay.
Operating budget is about $33 million.
Okay.
So we have 160 some full-time employees, and as you know, we don't receive any local government aid, and the last 3 years were cut from market value homestead credit. So basically,
Cuts from the state.
cut from the state.
Yeah.
Basically, I guess we're in a good position where there isn't much more that can be cut, and so we're sort of making it on our own.
Okay. So if we round that budget figure off and think of a pie, the major components of that pie would be in the public safety and
Public safety, fire, police is over 50%, obviously.
Okay.
And then you have the different, and it all depends who for years you say police and fire is essential functions, but to different people it means different things. A group may see Parks and Recreation as an essential function. The different building planning, just the administration of the city. It's a working mechanism where all the wheels have to kind of turn in the same direction and to keep the thing flowing.
Okay. And you have commissions that help advise the council, and we might say just overall, you have a comprehensive plan too,
Right.
to help you as part of regional government.
We updated the comprehensive plan, and so things have been moving along pretty well.
And if people want to see that plan, that shows
Everything is
how-
on the website.
on the website, and you go there and you can find out what that vision is for the city, and that's been adopted with a lot of input from people that have
And we
taken
also,
time.
the council also last year set goals, and so as a matter of fact, in the first Friday in February, we're going to have a retreat to examine where we're at from the prior year's goals, and to kind of have a status check of where things are at and where things need to be tuned or whatever.
Okay. Now, it's just great to have a prestigious corporation like 3M. And tell us about the impact of 3M and where the future might be with that company
Well,
as it relates to Maplewood.
when you talk about an 800-pound gorilla, 3M is like 8,000-pound gorilla. I mean, it's there are more jobs in Maplewood than people, so to speak, which is kind of different than most things. I believe 3M is like I think they're about 11,000 right now, perhaps even more.
I think it's 11.3 or something, but it varies.
And the 400-acre campus, they're a very big player, obviously the largest player and a good corporate citizen. We also have the Maplewood Mall, which has been doing very well, even in this tough times, and St. John's Hospital.
Yes.
And so, we have some...
A lot of jobs for
a lot of jobs
Maplewood
and a lot of good corporate citizens, too.
Yes.
And it's been an interesting year for everybody, with the redoing of White Bear Avenue and all the improvements there, and the water and sewer. You basically can't drive around Maplewood without running into construction.
Okay.
And that was...
But that's progress.
That's progress, and it was done on purpose to take advantage of the really excellent prices that we're getting for roads and this type of thing.
You mentioned parks and open space, and the voters have often expressed their support for the parks and dedicated space. Anything you'd like to share about the future in that area? And we could mention Fish Creek or any
Well,
particular
there's
thing.
a couple things. One is that we have restored the Parks and Recreation Department,
Yes.
And more so, we're going to a regional type recreational services. We're partnering with North St. Paul now through a joint powers agreement.
Yes.
To provide recreation services.
Yes.
Programming for their community center, for our community center. I think it's working fairly seamless. We're looking at perhaps doing something with Oakdale and perhaps Little Canada. And I think, in this day and age where everything is cut back, we have to kind of work together to provide these services. And so it's working out very well so far. I mean, we're going to have glitches as goes along, but I think there's
It's not the status quo, though.
Well, there's a degree of trust.
Yes.
I mean, I think for one, staff to staff, Wally Weissipple, is an excellent city
North St.
manager.
Paul city manager. Yes.
And so there's a degree of trust there where we can try these things, and it's not always I want to thump you or whatever. Right. And the council has are working together with the other councils. Just last week we met with Oakdale City Council, and it's very, very harmonious, productive meeting. And
hopefully there's discussion about the tax increment financing over by Tanner's Lake.
Tanner's Lake,
among other things,
was a major thing, and we're hoping to work with 3M and some of the businesses there to work together with Oakdale to come up with a redevelopment plan.
Turning that blighted part in Oakdale around, and I know Oakdale has been encouraging, and the legislature we've worked to provide a few tools, but ultimately it's the city leadership that's going to be key.
And so it's coming together. It's not going to be without glitches, and we're hoping for a good partnership with 3M and some of the existing businesses there to come up with something that is sustainable.
How about partnerships with the school district? And you have actually you have 3 school districts in Maplewood. The North St. Paul, Maplewood, Oakdale. But then you get the western part with Roseville, and then White Bear Lake gets right over by the Best Buy area on County Road D, which a lot of people aren't aware of.
And I think isn't there a bit of Woodbury too in the way south area?
Now I'm not aware of that, we will add a 4th potentially as well. But I haven't been approached by the Woodbury district.
That needs work. We need to work with the school districts. I think it's a two-way street, and so at this point, I'd like to say that things are looking good, but they're not looking good. They're not looking bad. We just haven't had the opportunities there. I've met with the superintendent from Roseville School District, and I think there's some opportunities there. I've met with Patty from North St. Paul, and I think there's some opportunities there, but we just need to spend some time on that and work on that.
Okay, but sure, the citizens appreciate it.
There's some history back there and packages, baggage that needs to be overcome.
And trust, you mentioned before, trust is very important.
Yeah,
so.
and we tried to do some surveying with the school district, North St. Paul School District, both North St. Paul, Maplewood, and the school district, and for a number of reasons that just that cooperation didn't come about, and I felt real bad about that. Yeah. But we just
keep meeting,
keep working.
Right. What do you do for hobbies? Because in your position, city manager, it's not 8 to 5.
Well,
and you're on call. Actually, you're always on call.
Yeah. Well,
how do you kick back?
I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I used to scuba dive. I was a Navy diver, and when you have 3 sons, you spend most of your time, with coaching baseball or hockey, this type of thing. Now it's
you did that.
I coach baseball, not hockey.
Okay.
But and swimming. One of my sons was really into swimming, and so I spent probably most of those years either coaching baseball or officiating at swim meets or taking the boys to different hockey games and stuff like that. And so now it's more sedate. I enjoy reading, obviously, and
anything in fiction or particular book that you want to single out?
No,
'Cause you're always reading reports. I know that.
Well, no, you do some escapist reading, but I enjoy westerns, and I enjoy, techno thrillers, and just a wide variety of subjects.
Any person in history that may have most inspired you, or that you think is especially noteworthy?
That's tough because in working in D.C., I got to meet a lot of people, and especially working with a congressman who wanted his office open when the Congress was in session. I spent lots of time outside the door of the floor of the House and got to know a lot of people, and so to pick one would be a disservice to the other. There's some really, really interesting folks. I got to know Wilbur Mills. Remember that?
Yes.
Wilbur Mills and Fanny Fox jumping into the tidal basin. But at the same time, I got to know President Ford when he was...
Jerry Ford, yes.
Yeah, his chauffeur and I were good friends, as a matter of fact. And so, it's I guess one of the people I really looked up to was Paul Wellstone. I didn't necessarily agree with his political philosophy on everything, but I think he probably was the most genuine, sincere person I ever met.
Oh, absolutely passionate.
And so I would, if I had to single somebody out, it'd probably be Paul Wellstone.
Good. Yeah. And we want to thank you for all the concern that you've shown as the city manager and getting out and about and talking to people. And there's a lot of people, and I get feedback, they'll call your office and they can get through to you. If you're there, you get responses, and that doesn't always happen. I just want to thank you for doing that and your open door policy.
I appreciate that, but as I said in the January newsletter, where I sort of give a report of what happened the past year, is in September I underwent open heart surgery, and the staff pulled together, the management team worked well. Chuck, all the assistant city manager, did double duty, and so nobody's indispensable. And I think we have a good, sincere team of people working for Maplewood, and we're getting the job done, and that's the way it should be.
Well, Jim, and thank you for your service to Maplewood, for many contributions you've made in other parts of the country as well. And if viewers would like more information, they can contact your office, visit the city website. Any concluding remarks?
Well, again, most of this is on the city website, and if you check, the number for me is a direct number, 249-2050, rings right into my office. And
249-2050, so very good. And if there's questions for me, give me a call on the screen. Chuck Wiger, 770-0283. For Your Capital What's Up, I'm Chuck Wiger. Thank you very much for watching.